It's my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its scenes while I was sleeping. And the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp. I turned my collar to the cold and damp, when my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, people writing songs that voices never share, and no one dared disturb the sound of silence. Fool, said I, you do not know. Silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might teach you. Take my arms and I might reach you. But my words, like silent raindrops, fell and echoed in the wells of silence. And the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made. And the sign flashed out his warning, and the words that it was forming. And the sign said the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls, tenement halls, and whispered in the sound of silence. Who's the black private dick that's a sex machine to all the chicks? Damn right.
Hey, welcome to another live Radical Republicans live show. I am your host, the J Black Mamba, the Black Mamba, Jerome Bell of the airwaves. Thank you again for tuning in. Another Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we give you the unapologetic truth, unfiltered, uncensored, and of course, always the truth and unedited and unscripted. Unscripted. You guys know how we do. This show goes whichever way the guest or whichever way you, the audience, wants to take it. And that's what we're going to do tonight, too. But we got a special guest tonight. Actually, we got two special guests. This show is going to be full of fire. Let's just say full of fire. Thank you, Carolyn, for saying it's always a great show. I see you, Susan. I see all you guys over in the GETTR chat and on X and on YouTube and everything else. You guys jamming it up over there on GETTR. Always with the drinks in your hand, having a good time, and I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. But before we get started tonight, you guys know I always have to hit my sponsors up. So the sponsors of the show. And the first sponsor tonight, we're going to do the Wellness Company. In today's unpredictable world, with health emergencies escalating from the recent measles outbreak in Texas. So I won't say why I believe those measles are happening in Texas and New Mexico, to the surge in dengue cases across America. It is imperative to be prepared for any situation. The Wellness Company, a trusted name in health preparedness, offers a comprehensive range of emergency medical kits designed to equip you for unforeseen times. The medical emergency kit is a must-have, providing a curated section of essential medications and supplies to address common emergencies, ensuring you're not left vulnerable when immediate medical attention isn't accessible. For those concerned with potential outbreaks, of course, the Contagion Emergency Kit offers vital tools with protective gear to help safeguard you and your loved ones during vital threats and viral threats as well. Additionally, the First Aid Emergency Kit is a versatile solution ideal for treating minor injuries and ailments, making it an indispensable addition to your home, car, or workplace. Visit twc.health/MBN and use code MBN for an exclusive 10% discount off your order. Ensure you're prepared for whatever comes next with the Wellness Company's emergency kits, because in times like these, readiness is not an option, it is a necessity. So our first guest, and I'll read you a little bit about her. I heard her on it was on Robert Wallace's show, and it was called The Dark Side of the Rainbow. Dark Side of the Rainbow. I was preparing to interview Robert, and I heard Laura's interview. It was one of the shows that I had watched, and so tonight we're thrilled to welcome Laura Becker here. She is a detransitioner, an author, and coach dedicated to supporting families navigating gender issues. After identifying as trans in her teenage years, Laura faced significant challenges rooted in childhood trauma, further complicated by medical interventions. Now she passionately advocates against gender ideology and offers invaluable guidance to parents with gender-confused children. So I want you guys to welcome Laura to the show. Hello, Laura. How are you?
Howdy, Jerome.
Oh, you got the hand clap. Got the hand clap. The applause out tonight. I'm loving
I
it.
wasn't
Loving
expecting that. Welcome it though.
it. Yeah,
Good to be here.
absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad you're here, man. Like I said in the opening, I listened to your show on Robert's show, and I had Robert on after that. But like I told him and told my audience, your story is amazing, and I say it's amazing because this is a big thing right now. What you went through, and so I'm just gonna give you the floor. If I missed anything, you can tell everybody that's listening about you. If I missed anything, and then we'll just dig into your story, and then we'll just chat it up for probably the next hour or so.
Sure thing. Yeah. So, like you kind of introduced it, everything you said was accurate. I am a detransitioner, and I've been very publicly advocating against all aspects of gender ideology on the psychological front, political front. Now I'm coaching families that are going through this and helping survivors of this medical scandal. But it took me quite some time to be able to heal and even figure out my reality, right? Accepting my sex, accepting being a female, and just realizing all the gaslighting that had taken place from the trans cult. So I'll just get into some of my backstory. I was kind of set up to be gaslit by the trans cult because I experienced childhood abuse from my father, psychological, emotional, verbal abuse, chronic, going on, and then gaslighting about the experience. And I was pretty much trained to not trust my own reality. And I was really struggling with mental health issues, depression, anxiety. I was diagnosed on the autism spectrum when I was 11 years old. So I was already dealing with a lot developmentally, and going through adolescence and teenagehood with the abuse. I was struggling to, stay alive. I was very suicidal and self harming and just trying to be in that kind of survival mode, and, very hopeless and didn't really know what I was doing in life. And unfortunately, in the past, this would have happened pervasively to numerous, adolescents. But today, we have a progressive ideology that's instructing teachers, schools, therapists, psychiatrists, and medical doctors that if a young person is experiencing body dysmorphia and self-loathing in their body, they have issues around their identity, and they don't feel comfortable in their sex or their sex role.
Like all teenagers, pretty much, right?
Yes. Yes, and not even just teenagers, but obviously younger children and older adults as well. Like, this is pervasively being taught in colleges, it's being taught in the workplace, it's spreading around. And so unfortunately, I learned about this when I was about 15. I learned about it on Tumblr. A lot of people of my generation, Gen Z, found kind of creative, kind of quirky people on Tumblr and Reddit and other places like that, and thought that we were being avant-garde, that we were being truly progressive. A lot of us were coming from liberal families, and we believed in causes like feminism, Black Lives Matter, all these kinds of things. So gay rights was just the norm, and then trans rights was the next thing that the LGB movement latched onto. The LGBT movement. And I learned about this, and as someone who was disassociating from my body and didn't even feel, fully alive, I took this to mean, oh, yeah, I must be non-binary. I must be queer. I can't really be a female. I'm too much of a tomboy. I'm too quirky, it's the autism. It makes you a little bit off from girls and boys. And so I was very confused, and the ideology told me and tells everybody that if you feel this way, it means that you're transgender. What does that mean? It means that you are not meant to live as the sex that you were born as, your God-given body parts, and that it's okay and even normal and healthy to fix this problem by having cosmetic surgery, by taking hormones, and by lying to yourself and others about what your biological sex is. And obviously, I'm framing this in a bit of a jaded way today, right? But at the time, I was very naive. I was a kid. I
Mhm.
believed that this was the way to liberate my soul from its burdens, right? There had been
Right.
basically demonic energy opposed upon me by my father, and then I was conditioned to believe that it was my fault and I was inherently broken. So I was like, oh, well, if I'm broken, then I must seek this kind of salvation, right, through this transition process. And that was applauded in my social circles. It was applauded online, my high schools, my teachers, and then in college, and my professors, and the LGBT center of my college. And so around like 16, 17, I came out as trans, and then came out to everybody at 18. And 19, I was given testosterone at a LGBT clinic. I just went in and I said, I'm trans and I think I would like to take testosterone. I think I should transition. And I was identifying as a gay man, and they were like, I told them all my list of problems, and they were like, Laura, you must really need these hormones. If you're suicidal, you must really need the steroid
Right.
right now. And I was like, you know what? That's the only like option that I've been given. I've no one has ever told me, oh, you can accept your body and accept being just a quirky woman. So I was like, yes, thank you. And only 6 months after I was given hormones, I was approved and received a radical double mastectomy. So my breasts were cut off and they were thrown in the trash, and my nipples were carved into these like ovular shapes to mimic a male chest. And keep in mind that I was actually suicidal the day of the surgery. I was very mentally unstable. I was using a lot of drugs. Like, I was not in a consciousness to consent to any of this. And unfortunately, the ideology has told people, like, just you can only affirm, you can only applaud people for their journey, and you can't question anything. And they were just born this way. And so, unfortunately, I experienced this medical malpractice, this medical abuse and neglect. And obviously, it didn't really help. I felt no different after the surgery. I was really hoping to feel some sense of fulfillment, some sense of wholeness in myself and in my spirit. And it just got worse and worse. And for the next couple years, I lived as a gay trans man. And I was going on Grinder. I was trying to hook up with gay men and bisexual men, and just it was just debauchery and drugs, and nothing was really helping. And I could see that I was kind of stuck, and it seemed like my core issues, whatever they were, had not been addressed. And so I debated, is it possible for me to get any better? Is it possible for me to have ever a quality of life, or am I really meant to kill myself? And I debated this very seriously for a long time. And I decided that, I'm only 22. I should try to give myself a chance. And so I went in for a psychological evaluation just to try to see, like, maybe there's something else wrong with me, maybe just reassess reality.
Had you
And
seen a
that
psychiatrist before this one? Was this the first time that you've actually?
Yeah, so I should clarify. This is very important that was in the medical system from age 11. So when
Okay.
I was diagnosed with autism, I had been prescribed numerous different medications. I
Right.
had seen many different therapists and psychiatrists. And throughout, I was never told this isn't your fault. Like, you've been abused, you're having some
Right.
issues, but it's not you. And so, the trans issue is just a really horrible cancer on a larger medical pharmacological problem in the West, that we're prescribing these pills to all these kids, and we're not treating like familial issues. We're not getting to the root of the problem.
Mhm.
So yeah, I had seen all these professionals, and they'd only just said, well, yeah, you're valid as a trans person. We don't really understand the gender issues. You need to see a gender doctor. And when you go to a gender doctor, it's basically like a witch doctor, and they just tell you, yeah, just take these hormones and have
Right.
cut off your body parts. And so I got this psychological evaluation, because obviously that nothing had helped. And that's when I was finally diagnosed with PTSD. And I was shocked. I didn't realize that you could get PTSD if, if you're not a veteran or something like really
Right.
severe. I didn't realize that repeated chronic abuse and, gaslighting of reality and all these like really abusive relationships and stuff that I'd been through could actually cause trauma and brain damage as well. And that's when I finally started to wake up and realize that it was never me that was the problem. I was just in the wrong environment and I'd been misled and let down by basically all the adults in my life and these providers. And the clinicians said, Laura, you have PTSD not just from the childhood abuse and the abusive relationships, but also from the transition. And when they said that, I was like, whoa, like they're not affirming. They're actually just telling me neutrally, you just had your breast cut off for like no reason. And I was like, wow, I actually did that. And that started to help reduce the disassociation. And I ended up detransitioning within a couple months because I realized that, I was just the same person I'd always been, but just hiding and avoiding from the trauma through this, fantasy escapism of this other identity and this persona. So I detransitioned and I was able to start to kind of accept, basic reality. And then, eventually through a lot of different healing methods, I've worked very hard to heal from the complex trauma, from the medicalization, and now I'm 28 and I, consider myself sort of a leader in this detransition movement, which is a pro reality movement. It's a truth telling movement and it's a movement against the evils of gender ideologies, lies, and then in favor of healing from, our generational traumas and anything else that's leading someone to reject their own biological sex.
Mhm. Wow. Wow. It's a lot to unpack, but
Yeah.
I mean, but it is. So let's go back. I want to go back to the beginning, sort of, kinda, and then I'll try to work my way forward because you were talking, and I had all these questions, and I never write anything down because I don't want to be scripted like that. I want it to be, natural. So, as a little girl, right? So, as a little girl, did you did you always know that you were a little girl, right? Because I know me growing up, I'm, towards 60, I'm 58. So when I was younger, we always had these girls that were tomboys. We called them tomboys, right? Because they played with the boys. They played the football, they played baseball, but they were still girls and they were still, did stuff that girls did. And they still, wanted to kiss boys and they wanted to, be feminine, but they just played with the boys. They were roughhouses, right? But so when you were a tomboy, did you always feel though that you were still a girl?
Yeah, so I definitely fit under that tomboy umbrella, roughhousing and wrestling,
Mhm.
but also, I was very artsy. I like to write, I liked animals. So I was at a pretty full range of like human expression. And as a kid, yeah, I knew I was a girl, but I always knew that there was something kind of different about me or something off where I really struggled to relate to other girls. I didn't have any interest in like what I would call performative femininity. So like wearing makeup or, I found girls to be unrelatable in a lot of ways because it
Mhm.
felt like they were too sensitive.
Right.
And however, because I still am a very sensitive woman, I was still a lot more sensitive than actual boys, right? So
Right.
I felt
Right.
like, like where do I fit in? I don't really fit in with girls or boys. And so I mostly spent a lot of time by myself, just in kind of my imagination. I'm a writer, an artist, and everything. So I struggled and it's just sad that girls like me that are clearly girls, they're just artsy. They're just a little
Right.
bit more introverted or a little more cerebral. That doesn't mean that they're not just girls that are going to grow up to want to be wives and mothers and just, be really amazing women. But the ideology says if you are not rigidly
Right.
feminine and it says if you're even questioning if you are feminine or masculine, that means that you are trans.
Right. And this is okay. So one of my friends, and we had this discussion, and I hope she's watching. She said she was going to watch. And I said that part of the issue is that with trans people is that it's a mental illness somewhere. Something happened, and and they're mentally ill somewhere. And whether they want to admit what happened to them, like you admit to the abuse, the child abuse, from your dad, that probably started your, you know, more questioning of yourself. Like you say, it was, you were told it was your fault, so you got feeling guilty, about yourself. You're already having these issues, about, am I a boy? I don't fit in, and now this is happening to me. So I must be a bad person. I just must be a bad person, a bad girl, because that's, kids think that anyway. Just because their parents yell at them or something because they didn't do their chores, I might be a bad person, but you were, suffering from that. And so I sort of, I guess want to ask you, do you feel that it is a form of mental illness?
Yeah. So the way I view trans is I do view it as a lifestyle choice. Like I personally, I view it as a coping mechanism that isn't a very good coping mechanism. So we all cope in so many different ways with whatever pain we experience or whoever we are. And some people might drink, people might be a workaholic. And there's many ways to avoid pain. And I think that transgenderism is a maladaptive coping mechanism for people that don't fit in or that are struggling to deal with their pain. So it's a lifestyle choice that comes from a lot of suffering. And yeah, it obviously comes from a disassociation from reality at the most, and at the least it's someone who knows, okay, I am this sex, but I'm still making this decision to live this way because I feel like I can't make it as my actual sex. So either way, it's still someone who's still partly lying to themselves and others, or someone who's struggling to accept themselves.
So let's talk about the people around you, because obviously, like you said, you had the internet, you were on Tumblr as a kid, and then you had teachers and you had counselors and you had all these adults that were around you that basically persuaded you to continue this movement towards. Did any of them try to stop you or try to tell you that, or speak to you about, well, maybe you're not trans, maybe you're just confused as a young lady, or you're going through puberty, plus you've been sexually abused. I don't know how many of them knew that you were sexually abused. So they never did any of them ever try to, you know, um, find out the underlying causes of why you were feeling this way, or try to persuade you not to go that way?
The problem is that all the adults in my life were what I call well intentioned but ignorant leftists. So people that are very on the left are very progressive and they have a lot of empathy and they want to do the right thing, but their empathy overrides their critical thinking skills and they're not able to have boundaries around truth. And for them, compassion just means saying yes. It's very permissive, it's very weak. And those were all the adults in my life. Most teachers are going to be on the left, most counselors are going to be on the left. And it's very sad because, they're calling themselves liberal, but in reality, they're actually being very reductionist and restrictive because they're just like, well, just do whatever you want. And it's like, well, maybe we need a little more guidance than that, right? Of how to
Right.
live our lives. So unfortunately, yeah, all the people I was confiding in, they subscribed to this mindset. And so they were like, no, I can't question this. It's not my place. No one was really telling me, hey, are you just mentally ill? Because the way the ideology works is it says if you're mentally ill, that means that you're trans, basically. Like the more you hate your body, the more trans you are. The more you want to have surgery, the more trans you are. So it's completely circular reasoning where they're just like, well, if you think you're trans, it means you're trans. And
You
it's
must
all in your
be.
mind.
You must be. If you think you're a unicorn, you must be a unicorn, right?
Yes, that is the exact
That's the
same thing.
thing
Yes.
now with these kids, the furries or whatever, that's going on in these schools. These kids that's thinking they're cats, and the adults are like, okay, let's put litter boxes in the bathroom. and just nonsense like that, but yeah, so so that's pretty interesting that the really no those. But so where did you grow up at? Where are
I
you
was
from?
born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Oh, really? My wife is from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm gonna
Oh,
have to tell her
interesting.
about that. Yeah, very interesting. And Milwaukee is a liberal city,
Mm-hmm.
of
Yes.
course. A very liberal, very liberal city, and so you grew up there. And yeah. So I can imagine, just her being, being from there, me going back there and learning about Milwaukee. I'm like, yeah, this is a crazy place. I'm glad I got you out of here. But she was an adult, but it wasn't, she's older. But um, so moving forward, okay, so you're going through, you get up to the point where you're like, okay, I'm trans. I must be trans. Now I want to be a man, or now I think I want to be a man, and so I'm gonna get rid of my breasts. And you
Mm-hmm.
were suicidal at that point. Were you okay? Because from what I understand is that most transitioners that commit suicide, they do it after the transition
Correct.
because they realize, oh shit, what I do, this is permanent. I've lost, you know, what I still feel that I am. So, did you feel like you were more, I guess, suicidal after the transition, or what?
Yeah, I was getting progressively worse and worse and worse as the trauma was untreated and like the abuse and gaslighting were still ongoing. And when I had the surgery, and took the testosterone, I had a mental breakdown because the surgeon told me to quit the testosterone for like, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know why he told me to do that, but I quit it cold turkey. I quit a very high dose of testosterone, without any guidance or supervision. And I had a mental breakdown and I ended up um, doing some, abusive behaviors to friends of mine. And basically, I lost my entire social network because I was being an abusive and erratic person. And so after the surgery, I was so scared to go back on to testosterone because I'm like, I don't know who I am. I feel like I can't even trust myself. And so I actually got like more PTSD, from the whole process. And
Right,
so
right.
I was more suicidal afterwards because of living this lie and doing this, basically it's like a drug addict, right? It's like you're
Mhm.
using drugs, you're going to push people away. And I just continued to, do this transition and hurt people and hurt myself. And so, yeah, I got more suicidal afterwards. And that's why I was just numbing out with like harder drugs. I was doing crack, I was doing meth, I was, masking it with sex and sleeping and food. And I was very obese. And I mean, I was coping very hard. And as I was debating about killing myself, very, often. And, that's when I eventually was like, okay, if I haven't done it by now, I'm probably not going to have the courage to do it. So I need to try to change something.
Okay, so how did you break that? How did you break the habit of the drugs? Everything, was it when you went to the psychiatrist and found out that you had PTSD, or was it something? Was it something else? Was it something spiritual, or what that made you actually cool? Because it's hard to get off the crack. I commend you for everything you've gone
Thank
through.
you.
First of all, especially, and you don't seem autistic to me.
Oh,
I
thank you.
mean, no, you really don't. I mean, because I've dealt with autistic kids and stuff
Mm,
in school, and people that I know, and you don't seem like you're on the spectrum at all. First of all, and then second, after everything that you've gone through, and I mentioned you've been on crack and things like that, how did you break that? How do you how do you get, I guess, get past that? And it seems like that nobody was really in your life to help you.
yeah, I mean, I have to say like it's a very gradual process. Like you have basically everything going wrong in your life and you start with fixing one little thing at a time. And the first thing you start fixing is your perception of reality and you literally go to the most existential question you could ever ask. Should I kill myself or is life worth living? So I went to like the most broad level you could go. And so that's when I decided I'm going to try to live. And once you have that uh, desire or motivation to live, then you can start to say, all right, how can I start to be more accepting of myself? How can I start to slowly change all these different behaviors. So it was very gradual. A big part of it for me was getting off of SSRIs, stop taking all those antidepressants and all those pills that I'd been prescribed, and then start
Mm,
actually feeling things again. And then, because I was actually able to feel and experience more joy and pleasure and sadness and everything else, I started to have kind of a more grounding experience practicing mindfulness and acceptance. And then, because I was off of the SSRIs, I was able to use LSD, which I had tried to use before, but it was being blocked because of the serotonin inhibition. So I did a lot of LSD and I had a spiritual awakening. And I started to finally feel this sense of oneness with the universe, with God, with, feeling love. It was releasing anger from my body. It was incredibly healing. And that helped me to feel more of a sense of faith in, just things getting better. And so yeah, just dropping one bad habit at a time and replacing it with that inner resilience, and really saying like, I can't live like this anymore and I'm not going to die. So what am I doing here? And also, as you said, I didn't really have anybody in my life that was helping. So a big part of this was this existential feeling of like, you know what? No one's coming to save me. Like, if I'm going to live or die, it's going to be me that controls it. And that's very scary because, like, I'm insane. How am I supposed to fix anything?
right.
So I eventually just starting to develop a very good relationship with myself, trust my intuition, and then being able to love myself and eventually feel very empowered to, heal and really take on any challenge, just day by day, that mindset of resilience and saying, I have to take care of myself. I'm responsible for my own well-being and it's my choice. And I'm going to choose to heal myself.
Yeah, you're gonna choose life, as we would say, choose to live.
Hmm.
Because like you said, damn it, I haven't killed myself yet, so I better go the other way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I better go the other way. Someone in the chat, I always touch on some things in the chat. Someone asked, did anyone like preach the gospel to you? You mentioned, and it's funny because right before I was going to ask you, you said the LSD. So the LSD, did you have? You say you had a spiritual moment. What did you hear? Like God talk to you, or something spiritual when you were on the LSD that made you say, okay, all right, cool, I'm listening now. I can do this.
Yeah, the LSD had a very spiritual profundity on me. I don't know if I talked directly to any deity. I didn't talk to Jesus or anyone specifically, but I experienced this feeling of connectivity to everything in the universe. And then I started getting into more of an Eastern philosophy, so more like Buddhism, Taoism, and really understanding the way things flow and how every person is part of this ecosystem. And just feeling like I'm not alone, because that's been my biggest source of pain, is just like I'm alienated, I don't belong, I'm not loved or welcomed. So feeling like, you know what, I am part of this earth and I am love itself. I'm a loving being, and just channeling into love and to harmony uh with nature, with other people, and then later with other detransitioners, other women that were like me, that were traumatized and weird, and feeling like, oh, I do belong with other people. There are people that I can relate to, and then eventually realizing I'm actually incredibly normal, and there's nothing wrong with me at all.
Right. So with these other women that you've associated with now, did a lot of them go through the same thing? Did you find out that their trauma started early in life with maybe sexual abuse or drug or something that happened in the home, and really the same story, the schools, everybody around them, the new, theology or what ideology, that was pushed on them. Did you find that they went through the same type of PTSD, really?
Yeah, absolutely. This is what is so uncanny about all this, is that there's like a specific archetype of girl or boy that's going to be most vulnerable to this ideology. And a lot of them are on the autism spectrum. They're the kids that are sensitive, they don't belong, they might think outside the box, and they're open to this like other way of thinking. And they think, oh, if I'm an outcast, maybe I need to change myself. So a lot of these women were so similar to me. They had trauma, they had sexual issues, they were on the autism spectrum, they were tomboys, and they were artsy, and they were smart. Like there was a lot of intellectual capability with these detransitioners, because like the trans ideology is a linguistic movement. It's all about verbal games, right? Like, oh,
Right.
a trans woman is this, and if you're
Yeah,
non-binary, it means
all of
that.
these words that they just came up with, right?
Yes.
That we've never heard of before, the cisgender, the transgender, and all of this other stuff that non-binary, binary, like with computer, programs. I mean, just all this stuff, right? That they just threw out there and to make it normal.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's so sad because they're preying on some of the kids with the most potential. Like these are very gifted kids. These are young people that are very smart. They're very creative. They're very sensitive. They're very empathetic, and they want to be better people, and they're seeking transcendence. They're seeking self-actualization. And then, a lot of them end up getting sterilized, or they get traumatized, and it's just so evil what they're doing, because they're not just, obviously it's evil to do it to any person at any time, but especially that they're doing it to the sweetest, most sensitive kids that are the most at risk, right? Like there's a
Right.
lot of trans identity in the foster care system. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like if you have trauma and you're being taught this is normal, you're gonna latch onto it. Just like
Right.
girls in the past might have latched on to eating disorders or goth or emo or drugs.
Right. And I also, being groomed, I guess, in the schools, they're grooming. And so, I read that a lot of the um, groomed kids that think they're transgender, they're actually are the ones most susceptible to, sex trafficking, and things that, and, because they can't really talk to the parents at home. So, they think that, okay, the teachers are helping them, and they're getting groomed, and they're getting trafficked from school and things like this. Because when I was in a school, there was this one girl that was actually being trafficked from school into the sex trade, because and she was thought that, maybe she was a transgender or whatever the case is, and they're very susceptible to that. I read. Have you heard that? Do you know if that may be of a case maybe with some of the ladies that you're associated with now, or
Yeah, there's a lot of sexual grooming, in most, and for boys and girls, because these kids will go online and they're like, "Hey, I'm confused about my gender and sexuality." And if a kid's saying that online, of course, a million predators are going to come in and be like, "Oh, we're your family. We support you. It's okay. You can transition." And they encourage the kids to show photos of their bodies. They're like, "Oh yeah, you're looking really feminine now," or, "Oh, you're looking so masculine. Like, let's
wow.
see your breasts." All this horrible stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of sexual abuse and a lot of grooming. And even for the adults that get involved, like the 18 to 25-year-old demographic is actually the most common age to transition, because
Mhm.
you're an adult and no one is looking out for you anymore. So even in that demographic, there's a lot of grooming taking place on the internet. And a lot of it comes from older men that are claiming to be trans women, and they're saying, "Oh yeah, I'm a woman, you can trust me," and things like that.
Right. Wow. Yeah, I see that. So what do you think about a couple of things here? One, the I guess the trans shows, these shows that what they call these these shows where they dance in front of these kids, these men, there's supposedly be women, dance in front of the kids. Is that, I mean, I think that's a form of grooming as well. But is that, persuading, do to try to pull those kids to that ideology as well? And yeah, you go there, then I'll think about my next question that I forgot.
Yeah, the drag shows, drag used to
Yeah,
be
drag shows. There you
an
go.
art, a burlesque art form for adults, right? In nightclubs, comedy clubs. Like, I have no problem with drag for adults. I think it's just theater, right? But the way that they're doing it for kids is very intentional. They're purposely trying to erode children's boundaries to not be able to believe their own intuition, their own bodily sense. This is a man, this is a woman.
Mm.
And for either a girl or a boy, especially a girl, we need to know that information. We need to be able to trust that information. Because if someone's lying to you about what genitals they have, I mean, why? Why are they lying, right? So, yeah, absolutely. I think it's a form of grooming. And the way that it's been paraded around every single institution as if this is normal, like, and then if they say, someone like you or I were to say, hey, this is grooming, they're like, oh, you're against art, or you're against fashion, or you're against expression. And it's like, no, I'm an extremely artsy person, I'm a musician, I'm a painter, whatever. No, you can do this for adults. Why are you do you need to perform for children? Why don't you
Yeah.
perform in an old folks home? If you want to spread joy, why aren't you performing, in a comedy club instead of at a school library?
Right, exactly. Okay, and the other question, so what do you say, what do you think about these parents that are transitioning or want to transition their 3-year-olds and their young kids that, of course, don't even know who they are, what they are, really don't even know what genitals they have. They're still figuring that out, and they're so young. What do you think about these parents?
Yeah, so we call these parents transhausen parents because
Transhausen,
there's
like,
Munchausen
that's
by
good.
proxy
Munchausen.
is like
Yeah.
when an adult will purposely let their kid be sick or pretend their kid's sick to gain attention. It's a form of
Right.
narcissism. So we
Mhm.
call it transhausen because this is exactly what these parents are doing. They parade their little toddler around and they get social credit in their progressive circles. And they're like, I'm such a good parent. I'm raising my child to be genderless. They're not going to have any prejudices or biases about sex. Meanwhile, the kid is just being groomed to not have a stable sense of reality. And these parents are, I mean, these are some of the most evil people out there because they're pretending that they're being amazing parents and protecting their kids from you or I, transphobes or whatever. In reality, they are lying to their little baby children that they like their genitals don't matter, or that if they're even just showing an interest in being a tomboy or a femboy, like they're just exploring who they are, that they need to grow up to literally have their genitals mutilated, to be sterilized. And these kids don't know that they even have a choice.
They're
They don't
right.
know when they're a baby if they're going to want to have a baby someday. They can't consent to any of that.
Right. And these doctors that are allowing this, these, I think these are the most evil people. One, the parents that, that's not protecting their kids and pushing this, but these doctors performing the surgeries, these these people, I'm trying not to curse on my show today, but I curse all the time and we can. So it's okay. But these people are the most evil people, I think, in the world right now that would go along with this because a parent said, "Oh yeah, this is what they want," or even if the kid said it's what they wanted. I could. My son is a doctor, okay, and he would never do anything like that, And so, do you feel like, of course, it's for the money. Of course, they're getting paid a lot. I mean, these surgeries are, and if they're trying to cover it through, like Kamala Harris want to, for the taxpayer to pay for all these surgeries and things like that. But who's more evil? Who's more evil to you?
Ugh. That's a really interesting philosophical question. I mean, I think who's more evil, like someone who's just kind of a sociopathic personality, like a surgeon who really feels nothing, or a parent who really believes that they're doing well? I would say probably the parents are more evil because they actually have a biological duty and a love for to protect this innocent life, and they're claiming to be doing so much good in the world, versus the surgeons and some of these doctors. I mean, yeah, some of them do claim to be doing good in the world, but they also are just sociopaths, and they don't even experience empathy. So I mean, but it's a medical industrial complex where you have at the top these sociopaths that are just chopping people up. They don't give a shit. And then below them, you have these rank and file, pediatricians and psychiatrists and therapists that are trained not to question, but also I have to say, I think they're just willfully blind. Like, I think a lot of these people, like I said, well intentioned, ignorant leftists who are just like, oh, this is the same thing as being gay. And they throw away all of their clinical training because in any other area, if someone's schizophrenic, bipolar, on drugs, whatever it is, you would never like be like, yeah, you're valid in this like false reality, this delusion. So it really is kind of a mind virus that everyone is kind of fallen under this spell. And I think the reason they fall under it is because they don't want to be mean, quote unquote. They don't want to be uncompassionate. They don't want to hurt someone's feelings. And the thing is, like, sometimes you need your feelings to be hurt in the short term to protect your life in the long term.
Right, exactly.
And they don't do that.
With doctors, I mean, their Hippocratic oath, their number one thing is do no harm. Any doctor that is, doing harm to these kids, then to me, they need not be doctors because they are doing harm, whether they believe they are or not. We sort of, dang, an hour always goes fast. So you're helping other women. So let's go ahead forward. So what are you doing now? I know you're traveling all over the world. We're talking all these groups. When did you start that? And when did you come to realization that, you know what, I can help people. I can tell my story. I can help people. And now this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, so it started, when I was younger, I was about 23, 24, and there was just not many resources. It was still very underground, it was very scary to try to talk about this because you would face cancellation. And so there was only a couple detransitioners that were kind of speaking out, and I'm like, well, I'm a writer and I like to talk and maybe, this could be of use. But when I started out, my self-esteem was still so bad. I was like surprised that anyone would want to talk to me. And
Mhm.
so I actually ended up experiencing so much healing from helping others just through doing interviews and podcasts. And
Mhm.
I realized I really do have value. I really do have these skills. And then as I did my healing process, it kind of culminated together into a very strong confidence in myself and my ability to help others. And because I've been through so much myself. And so, yeah, right now I'm working as doing consulting and doing coaching for parents with trans identified kids, talking to other detransitioners and coaching them through life skills, helping them to find acceptance and really consulting with anyone who has questions about anything, whether they be a doctor, like how do I deal with this, or a teacher in the classroom. So that's kind of my vocation now. And then I'm also in the process of releasing my memoir, which will be the first detransition memoir. It's called Surviving the Trans Myth. And that should be out later this year. And other than that, I do a ton of different media podcasts. I write a lot, specifically on X. I do a lot of threads on healing and the gender stuff, and speak out on this. And I've traveled, around the world doing this, and I'm very grateful just to be able to find this truth and find other people who are like me. Because what I've realized over the years is I'm very normal, but there's one thing that does set me apart from other people, which is I'm very, very earnest and I very much want to speak the truth into light, no matter what. And there's a lot of people that are too scared to
Right.
have that courage to speak up. That's the only thing that sets me apart from others. And I just love talking to other truth tellers and truth seekers and just trying to heal the world.
Yeah, no,
Not a
absolutely.
small task.
There's small task. Yeah, people in my chat say they actually follow you on X, and you do some great things, and you
Well,
and
thank
you
you
are doing
guys.
some great things. Yeah, yeah. So we have some truth tellers. My show is a truth teller show. So have you lost a lot of liberal friends?
I don't have liberal friends.
Okay, so, right. Okay, so because you were liberal, I guess you say you grew up in
Yes.
a liberal household. So you were a liberal. So when did you deliberalize yourself from from the liberalism mental disorder type thing? I guess you could say
Yeah, I mean, so I kind of differentiate between like classical liberalism and leftism, which is kind of like communism and stuff. So
communism. Yeah, yeah. Just call it
I
what it is.
very much differentiated from the communist, socialist, progressive, leftist type of stuff. Once I realized I'd been lied to about the gender issue, I realized I was being lied to about a lot of other things.
Everything
Um,
almost.
everything. Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, now I kind of, I hold very nuanced views just because have very philosophical beliefs and things. But I consider myself, on the moderate side of conservatism and classical old school liberalism. So yeah, I don't really get along with leftists, and it's very sad because now my family is very mentally ill, right? They're all still
Mhm.
in survival mode, and so they're all still stuck in this mind virus. And there's been estrangements, obviously for personal healing reasons, but political reasons as well. I have faced judgment for my public support of Trump, and I've been working a bit in the Trump administration, advocating for MAHA and meeting with like Health and
Right.
Human Services and stuff like that to advocate against the ideology. And unfortunately, yeah, I have faced criticism and ignorance from
Like all of us that's
those in my
conservatives.
past.
Like all of
Mm,
us that's conservative have family members that I can't even talk to anymore. So yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So you definitely it's good to know that you're a Trump supporter, and at least a conservative, speak the truth, as well. So we definitely appreciate you coming here. So you say your book. Give us the name of your memoir book that's coming out one more time again, so people can start watching out for that.
so look out for Surviving the Trans Myth. And the best
And
way to find me is just on X. I'm Laura Becker Real. You can also find me on Instagram and on YouTube. I have videos. I have more content than I know what to do with because I'm too creative sometimes. And then if anyone wants to reach out for any reason, media or just for a consultation, please feel free to email me with any request. Laura Becker official at gmail.com.
one more time, Laura Becker official at gmail.com.
Yes.
Laura for those that it's not Lara, it's Laura. So for you all looking for that, hey, hey, you saved some lives today tonight. I'm looking in the chat and things like that. Some women in here felt that they were tomboys as well, growing up, and they had a support system that you may not have had that actually
Mhm.
saved them. But I'd like to say I was glad when Robert said, "Hey, I got you, Laura." I'm like, "Sweet," and because I know your story resonates with a whole lot of people, and just continue to keep saving lives like you're doing, Laura. And I appreciate you coming into the Lions Den. This is what we call it here, coming to the Lions Den on the Radical Republicans live show. And I hope we'll have you back soon after your book come out. Just hit me up, and we'll have you back. We'll talk about your book.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Jerome, and everyone watching and listening. And yeah, just keep fighting the good fight, tell the truth, and keep being courageous.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. Keep fighting. All right. Well, thank you, Laura. We'll see you next time. We appreciate you.
All right. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye bye. Boom. Laura Becker, y'all. Give her a hand. Okay, so now I'm going to get to my next sponsor first before we go into this, because if you guys checked out the who I'm having on next on the show, you guys know that this guy is like the most controversial firebrand on X, in my opinion. So, but let me get this first. Okay, my gold guy is going to be my next sponsor for the second half of the show. In these turbulent times, gold prices are still up over $3,000, with the gold prices shattering records and surpassing the 3,000 per ounce mark. It's evident that the financial landscape is on shaky ground, even with the tariffs. All right. The escalating trade war marked by President Trump's decisive 200% tariffs on European alcohol imports has only added fuel to the fire, pushing investors toward safe havens like gold and silver. Like I've been telling you guys, what I told you guys when it was like $2,100, right? Yeah, start, buying some gold and silver. But here's the kicker: the elites and central banks are hoarding these precious metals, leaving everyday Americans exposed to the whims of the volatile market. It's time to take control of your financial destiny. Ira Bershatsky, known as My Gold Guy, is offering a free gold and silver investing guide to empower you with the knowledge the mainstream financial system does not want you to have. This guide provides step-by-step instructions on how to get started with gold and silver investments, insights to why precious metals outperform traditional investments during economic uncertainty, and it has tips to maximize your returns while minimizing risk. Don't be a pawn in their game. Visit mygoldguy.com/MBN and download your free guide and tell Ira that I sent you. All right, so arm yourself with information you need to protect your wealth and secure your financial future. Remember, in a world where the dollar's value is diminishing and inflation is skyrocketing, gold and silver stand as the ultimate safe havens. Take action now before it's too late. mygoldguy.com/MBN. So my next guy, I've known him for a while. Me and Stu go back to his Red Voice Media days. I always kid him about that, Red Voice Media. So, when he started, before he became a superstar, and on X, he has his own show, the Stu Peters Network, and he's just one of those guys that tells the truth and pisses a whole lot of people off. So before there was Candace Owens, talking about Israel. You have Kanye West out there telling the truth about a lot of things. Stu talked about in the water. He talked about the vaccines, the venom in the vaccines, these blood clots that was in your veins because of this jab. If you follow Stu, he tells a lot of truth. And one of the big things now that he talks about is being occupied, how we're occupied by the state of Israel. And so I'm gonna bring my man on to the show because we have a lot of fun. Stu, what's happening, brother?
What's going on, man? Thank you so much for having me. I was watching a little bit of your previous guests, so it's good to catch up with you.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on. It's been a while, man. Been trying to get you on, but you're just a busy dude, traveling, going to speak, and hanging out with your kids, man, doing the vacation and daddy thing, man, which is the most important thing.
I don't know about vacation, man. When well, what is that? No, I mean, as I'm traveling though, I bring the kids along with me, man, because it's like, I mean, we're a family, and these kids, they need to see the world too. And I just I'm not going to shelter them from a whole lot. And, discussions about like what's age appropriate and what's not, and the way that you articulate things, the way that you say things is really important. But I want them to see what's going on out here.
Right.
Because, I mean, when they leave the house, whether they get on a school bus, I mean, for all of your audience that has kids, you understand this. Like if they get on the school bus or they walk to school or ride their bike or get a ride there, whatever it is, it can only be described as a spiritual battlefield that they're stepping onto when they enter, like a school or, when they go out in public, when they leave your home. And so
even just being with their friends, because
because they're influenced
different
by this,
way, right,
in the superhighway, and they're scrolling and they're TikToking and their Instagram shorts and YouTube shorts, and they just get this like inundation of whatever our overlords and these oligarchs think that they want to shove into their brains. It's just like COVID. I mean, they sent them home and they just made them basically drones that would download to their brains whatever the Department of Education decided to flood with, their brains with on these Chromebooks or, whatever it was. And it was largely done without supervision because parents still had to work.
No supervision. Right.
Yeah.
So no supervision. They were getting groomed. They were getting groomed from home, and they, like I said, watching all these, different videos and the music and all this other stuff, hanging with the friends and just no supervision and just wilding out for, for the most part, when when your parents are home and, and most kids are there by themselves, like I said, no supervision. They, retracted and regressed in school, a lot of it, and that's one of the things we definitely have to protect the kids, man, because this world out here is insane and it's crazy, man. With these progressive communists, that's trying to program your kids. So what do you feel about President Trump? And yeah, I know what you're going to say, but let's talk about this for a second. The abolishment of the Department
I
of
know what you're going to say, but before you say that, can we say something else?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
You want to? No, I mean, that was. Do you want me to say something nice?
No, hey, Stu, you know my show, man.
Yeah.
We're unscripted, unedited, bro. I brought you on for a reason.
Well,
I brought you on to tell your truth.
Yeah, specifically about Trump. I mean, like, there's a lot to talk about. So where would you like to start?
Okay, let's start there. Let's just start where you want to go with it. Take off.
Well, I mean, look, this is how long do we got? We
have an hour.
A very, very deep, a very, very deep thing. And I think that, a lot of people are in tune to the fact that everything that we're watching here is fake. I mean, we're watching,
right.
We're watching a movie. And I think, it's largely accepted at this point. At minimum, people will acknowledge, hey, we're living in a uniparty, right? I mean,
absolutely.
We're not this whole Republican Democrat, this whole idea of conservatives and liberals and leftists and, like all of this stuff. It's all fake.
It's all theater.
And they're all actors. And so we live under this like uniparty duopoly. And I don't have any, any proof of this, but I do have a whole lot of physical, circumstantial, anecdotal evidence to suggest that, since JFK was assassinated, we really haven't elected a president. So when you kind of come to that understanding, and I mean, there's a lot of things, if you want to talk Trump specifically, I really loved the America First 2015 Trump the message.
Right.
Trump the man, a lot of people get emotional with politics, which I think, I mean, and I can understand that, okay, because I can appreciate somebody being upset about dead kids or, bioweapons or poison or whatever it is that they catch on to. I mean, being emotional, of course, I mean, you're a human being, but emotionally approaching the idea of the political apparatus in this country, you're not going to get very far because you'll only allow yourself to think to the level of your lowest limiting beliefs. So if you tell yourself like, well, no, it really can't be that bad, then, you're probably just going to choose to remain willfully ignorant. And, that's a safe place for a lot of people to be. So I can't blame them. Look, I just want to live my life. I just want to be left alone. Right. I just want to live my life. I just want to do the kid thing, and I'll leave that battle to somebody else. Mm-hmm. And so in 2015, Trump the message was a resounding message with people that think like that. And I was one of them. I was a bounty hunter. I saw the streets unraveling. I saw the tension between blacks and police because I was there. I was dealing with it every day. Right. And this is like this dichotomy that didn't even necessarily have to be there. It wasn't organic. Like it was all put on and it was fed into the mainstream that this group of people is now supposed to hate this group of people. And so then the media was employed to make, police look racist, of course, extra racist. And then they come up with terms. Much like safe and effective, or conspiracy theorist, which they came up with after JFK was killed by Jews.
Right.
You're a conspiracy theorist if you question this. Well, the same thing was with like systemic racism. I mean, there's really no such thing as systemic racism. Anti-Semitic, there's another one. I mean, they changed.
That's a communist. That's that's where they brought up to, the communists actually used to, make people feel guilty about themselves, make people, shy away from the truth.
They're making white people feel guilty that, that they're white. They're making white kids hate themselves in schools for the color of their skin.
Right.
And so like they are really the oppressed and the unrepresented, because there's nowhere that you can go and find anything that's pro-white at all anymore. I mean, there's no White History Month. There's no white entertainment television. We can go down the list and it's obvious to everybody. But let's get back to Trump, because that's what you asked me about. So Trump the message was a message that people wanted to hear, because finally there was this man who was saying, all of the things that we have been thinking. And he was a billionaire and he was a celebrity. And like after he came down the escalator, his presidential run began to quickly be taken seriously. It wasn't long before the polls, if you believe those, they had Trump like, wow, this guy could really take the whole field. And I remember it was a big field. I mean, you remember all those people standing
18. It was a field of 18.
He had nicknames for all of them.
Right.
And it was a breath of fresh air. You know, America first. Like, who had thought of that? Like, who make America great again? Like, what a novel idea. And it was the perfect timing because, you know, I mean, America once again was polarized. You know, our country's like core values and heritage and culture. I mean, there was wars in every aspect of, you know, your political ideology, your religious beliefs, your spirituality, the color of your skin, how you identify, you know, sexually, all these things. It was like really polarized. And so people were like, this is not the country that I grew up in. And this is not the country that my boomer parents raised me in. And my boomer parents, if they're still alive, they would be rolling over in their grave. You know, like you hear it all the time. It's like these two A guys, you know, yeah, you'll pry it out of my cold dead hands. Come and take it, right? As they stand there and posture online. But if the government actually came to get their guns, they'd probably voluntarily hand them to them.
They're probably right.
You know these guys. But the message was great, and the message was perfect. Yeah, build a wall. You know, the lock her up chant wasn't necessarily just about Hillary Clinton, but it was about pushing back against a systemic corruption that people realized was there. And whether they knew that it was a corporate government, big pharma, military industrial complex crime syndicate at the time or not, they knew that it was corrupt. They knew that Washington, D.C. was a cesspool. They knew that it was a pit. They knew that it was a swamp. So drain the swamp was perfect timing. And arresting and going after and holding accountable, you know, corrupt public officials and household names was like, I mean, you remember the crowds chanting, lock her up.
Lock her up. That's right.
And I'm going to build a wall and I'm going to make Mexico pay for it. He doubled down on the strong rhetoric because it was really strong and it was blunt and it was direct and it was to the point and there was no frills and it wasn't polished and he didn't act like a politician and he crushed it in the debates. I mean, the one-liners, everything was just, it was perfect. And looking back at it and kind of going over all this in my head in real time, just thinking here, like how perfect they actually did all of this. I mean, the way that the programming is it's so effective. But so he ran.
I mean, because I mean, not to cut you off, but because the programming is effective because it's what people needed and wanted to hear, and that's how they.
And that's what I mean about the emotional approach to politics.
Yeah.
You know, people got emotional about it because Trump was a figure that they could relate to. So they felt like they knew him because he was talking about all of the shit that they were talking about at their dinner tables, the things that were impacting them, that were important in their lives. He was out shaking hands with, you know, the guys building cars and the guys in the grain fields and the guys at the combines. And he was, you know, like the flyover America people. He was like, you know, he was representing them. He was giving them a voice, so they thought.
He was one of us.
He was in one way, shape, or form. Yes, he was relatable to everybody. Right. I mean, you're a black guy, but you know what? You knew that Trump spoke very highly of the military. Maybe that's what it was for you. You know, like he was like, I'm going to be strong. And nobody else has ever stood there at inauguration and had like the military literally behind him. So when he said the military is behind me, and then, I mean, we can get into the Q, the military's in control and the white hats and the Patriots. And I mean, we can get into all of that. But Trump specifically, so of course, you know, he gets elected. I don't think that was necessarily 100% intentional. I think that Trump probably really did, I mean, win. I think that, you know, as if you were to live for a very quick second in this fantasy world where elections are not fake and gay, I think Trump won that election. And I can see why. And he probably won this one too. I mean, I don't know, and we probably never will because the cheat is just so.
It's huge.
It's incomprehensible. It's unfathomable how we have been played in this movie. But it's really actually also too quite simple. But I mean, so he wins, and then, you know, of course, then the theft of the election in 2020 and all that. But if you look at the presidency for his first 4-year term as president, you know, Donald Trump 45, If you look at what he campaigned on, and you're being bare naked honest with yourself, if you look at what he campaigned on and you look at what he accomplished when he was in office, those were all, you know, I don't know that they were lies, but they were things that were not accomplished.
Yeah, they were facades. They were facades. Nothing
he ran on,
got done.
None of it happened.
Right. And most people, would say, well, that's because he had, the impeachments to deal with.
There's a whole
the Democrats had the House. We didn't have both, the House and the Senate. Even though we did have the House and the Senate for his first 2 years, people seem to forget that. People seem to forget, like, the way it is now, the way it is exactly right now. We had that in 2016, and nothing was done because of what? Now it seems like a bunch of things are getting done. But go ahead, continue.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a reason for everything, or an excuse. I'll just say that there's a bullshit excuse for all of it. He didn't lock her up because he faced, lawfare, and he didn't build the wall because they held him up in court, and because of the impeachments. And there's always, he didn't deploy the bioweapon and tout it as his greatest accomplishment ever. He was forced to, by the deep state, or he was fooled and he was tricked by the scarf lady, Deborah Birx, and the rat-faced demon, Tony Fauci, like they infiltrated. But he's the president of the United States, man. I mean, the buck stops with you. You're the commander in chief. You're the president of the United States. If you don't know that the scarf lady's duping you, you're probably just not fit to lead the country. I mean, that's just being honest. And, I know that there's a lot of people who don't like that because there's been the programming that this is the guy, this is he's going to ride in, he's going to save us. And I understand, believe me, I get it. People look around and they're like, this is our last hope. This is it. Like, if it's not Trump, then who? And they want to hold on to this last bit of hope, because if you look around, our country's dick is being driven into the dirt. It's falling apart no matter where you look, no matter what you talk about. Every single one of our bureaucracies is working against us. The entire federal government has been hijacked and is weaponized. State government doesn't do anything. People are overtaxed. People are working, for the man. They've got nothing in their savings. They don't own their 401ks. They can't afford to go on vacations anymore. They can't, they're scrimping and scrapping. Their lifestyles are terrible financially, economically. They're scared. They're nervous. They don't have a future. They've got drag queens, with their balls hanging out underneath a skirt, reading books to their kids in school. How far do you want to go? The country is a piece of shit. It's not a serious country. We don't protect our borders. Our military doesn't perform its core function, which is to secure our borders and to protect us from an invasion. Instead, they're helping to facilitate one, and the rest of them are gone out in like some other country doing God knows what at the behest of who knows who. What are you doing? Why aren't you here protecting us? Why aren't you here protecting our First and Second Amendment rights? Or the right that's so sacrosanct to vote, or to not be invaded by criminal, illegal thugs with weapons caches and dirty bombs that they put all over our country while they rape our kids right out in the wide open, and then get protection from the police while they do it. During the whole month of June, for example, where pedophiles walk down the streets under the guise of pride parades and rub their dicks in little toddlers' faces and laugh about it. Yeah, how far do you want to go? Our country is really not doing well, to put it mildly. And so people have this, they have this fear, and they don't know where to turn. And when you're presented with Joe Biden, right, this actor who's got dementia and shits his pants on the international stage and walks into bushes while Secret Service is looking for him, and he has no idea where he is or what he's doing, and he spent, arguably, plausibly, his virtual entire presidency in Delaware in the basement with a green screen behind him. Nobody ever really knew where he was. He didn't even know where he was, or when he had to go to the bathroom, or if he just did. So you're presented with that, or you've got this Kamala Harris, totally fake. She's a mattress ladder climbing whore. She's disgusting. She's got nasty teeth. Her cackle's even worse. She's completely fucking brain dead. She can't even coherently put a sentence together. And she has no idea what's going on. And this was, if you want to believe the official Orthodox narrative, this was the border czar under Biden. Okay, so if you want to get into like political,
who never went to the border,
yeah, so you can get into like the mainstream political talking point failures, and they are abundant. And then you have Trump, and Those are your choices. So it didn't really matter that Trump reneged or failed to accomplish 100% of all of the most consequential campaign promises that he made in 2015 going into 16 and dropped the ball for 4 years and didn't get them accomplished. For whatever excuse you want to make up, it doesn't matter. The fact remains they were not accomplished. Right. And so, but it didn't piss people off enough. And it didn't piss people off in 2020, going into 21 on January 6th when, Donald Trump is standing at the ellipse and telling people to go be patriotic and peaceful and go make their voices heard at the Capitol. And then he himself doesn't show up. And then all these people get arrested. People were murdered there in this huge PSYOP federal operation, to entrap patriots and then to program everybody else. This is what happens to you if you petition the government to redress your grievances. We will fucking crush you. We will crush you without due process. We'll hold you as a prisoner of war on U.S. soil. We'll put you in a gulag. You won't speak to your attorney. You won't have any money. You're losing your car to repossession. The house is in foreclosure. You just lost your marriage. You don't have custody of your kids. You'll never work in the real world again. The media is going to trash you. Your name is total shit and garbage, and your whole life is destroyed because you questioned an election or you were there, to pray. Like literally pastors were praying on the Capitol steps and never went inside and got laser dotted by federal agents in the middle of the night, dragged out of their house, at gunpoint and, in front of their kids. This is the country that we live in, right? So, I mean,
supposed to be free, supposed to be the free country.
Are they just don't know what to think. Right. But one thing is for certain. If you think it, you better not say it because you'll lose your social status and all of your wine.
You get debanked, you lose your job, you get doxxed, lose your job. Like say social medias get all, whacked out, they ban you, you get that, I guess the canceled word, whatever, if you speak out. And like I say, it's happened to me, it's happened to you, it's happened to, a lot of people that dare to fucking speak out, to speak the truth about the shit that's going on that we clearly see, right? That we clearly see in that because we're not living in the fucking matrix. We see what's going on. And so we actually speak about it and talk the truth about
sometimes too clearly. And so it makes you sound like it's really easy for, this controlled media to point to a guy like me and say, well, look at this guy's unhinged. Because just listen to some of the crazy shit that this Stu Peters is talking about. I mean, bioweapons, the government really deploying bioweapons against you. Come on. I mean, your government would never openly declare war on you and your children, never mind the fact that we're actively bombing them in real time and broadcasting the bombings of these entire residential neighborhoods, schools, libraries, churches, and then putting it on the official X channels of another government who we're doing the bombing for. Don't care about it. It's your money that went to pay for the 70 million pounds and bombs that just did that. And so, but it's real manipulated weather. Now Peters is talking about weaponizing weather. Oh yeah, like we can really steer hurricanes. Come on.
I mean, it's come out. Of course, it's out that they do manipulate the weather. They do control the weather. I mean,
everything that I've said has come out and been proven to be true, including yes, Damar Hamlin dying on that NFL football field in front of 10 million people on Monday Night Football. Okay, when you need to be resuscitated with CPR, it's because you were dead.
You died.
Right? You died, and they brought you back. So yes, he died on that football field. And I said it, or when I say that these people need to face extreme accountability, or when I say that after a tribunal or, a proper judicial proceeding, people like Tony Fauci, and he's, by the way, only the front face actor, but people that are responsible for these attacks and these crimes against humanity should hang from a length of rope until dead. And somehow that's controversial, but it's not controversial to bomb the fuck out of people or, shoot them up with an mRNA ticking time bomb, nanotechnology that's going to blow their brains up in 5 years. Like that's not controversial. I mean, so I think the whole idea, when you were like, he's one of the more controversial guys on X, when you were introducing me, I understand that, but I just don't know why it has to be like that. Like, why am I so controversial when I'm just saying the truth? And the truth,
because the truth is controversial.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why, and
a lot of these things, it pisses me off to talk about a lot of these things. And I don't want to say we have a hijacked political system that's completely fake, that operates in a uniparty duopoly because it's controlled under the pressure of blackmail. And most of the people that you prop up as heroes are probably on tape having sex with kids or doing unthinkable acts on tape. Like, you think I want to be saying that about my country and its supposed leaders? No, of course not. I'm acknowledging the fact that we've got a big fucking mess on our hands, and nobody's going to ride in on some white horse to save us, including Donald Trump. He's not up there playing 6 million D chess. He's doing exactly what it looks like he's doing, which is selling our country right down the river for Israel, because he was paid $230 some odd million to do it, 100 of which just came in this last election cycle from one person, Miriam Adelson. From another one, by the way, Elon Musk, who over doubled that contribution to Trump's campaign to make all of this happen. And nobody cares about the fact that, immediately after getting elected, Donald Trump is marching, Ellison into the Oval Office, or, in front of the cameras to tell you about how you're going to have these AI controlled, personalized mRNA bioweapons shipped to your front door for you. Like, nobody cares that Elon Musk literally openly admits, yeah, I'm over here building this thing that's going to kill us all. Because they ask him about it and he says, yeah, inside of 20 years, AI is going to kill all of us if it's not stopped. Well, what are you doing over there? Well, I'm just over here building it. Like, what? Like, where's the disconnect? Why can people trust somebody that literally is building the thing that is going to kill all of humanity? Or when he says he wants to put a chip in your brain and control your thoughts and your memories and your dreams and, how long you live. If he's willing to take your blue tick away on X, and if you disagree with him on his social media platform that he supposedly allegedly owns, if he's willing to take your voice away when he disagrees with you, what do you think he's going to do to your body or your brain when your chip is in there and you disagree with him? I mean, it's only common sense. Yeah. I mean, flip the switch. Boom, you're off.
Yeah, exactly.
So saying these things about Donald Trump is not controversial. It's just honest, and there is no plan. This trust the plan, all of this bullshit.
Yeah, I get so sick of that shit, man. Trust the plan, trust the white hats, trust. Like, shut the fuck up with that, man. I've been saying this for a while. There's nobody come to save you. The only people that can save us is us, right? And then most people are scared as fuck because of the PSYOP, January 6th that you mentioned. They're scared as fuck because they don't want to be away from their families. They don't want to go to jail. They don't want to risk dying. A lot of people in this country that just are scared as fuck to speak up, like you say, and say the truth.
But look, here's the difference between most and Stu Peters, which is, and this is probably, we're not even really different. We're not even really different. We're just at different levels. Okay. We're at different stages in our progression of life. And maybe I'm just at a different stage. But I know that I speak for a lot of people when I say this: Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior.
Absolutely.
And that God is not a God of fear or confusion. And so when I realize that, and when you process that and you really think about that, and that's how you operate, these people don't have jurisdiction over me. Right. Or my mouth, or what I'm going to say, or when I'm going to go to court, or how fast I'm going to drive on the fucking road. Like, you don't have jurisdiction over me. Oh, what are you, Stu, some sovereign citizen? Well, that's the fucking goal.
That's supposed to be. It's supposed to be.
Do you want to be a sovereign citizen, or do you want to be a governmentally owned entity with a social security number that's born saddled in debt, and then you go all the way through your post-secondary education where you're saddled with more debt so that you can pay interest upon interest upon interest for the rest of your lives, and then hand all of your debt to your kids? Is that a better plan, or does sovereign citizen sound kind of better to you? But God is not a God of fear, and he's not a God of confusion. So don't be confused about what's happening here. Believe what your eyes are showing you, believe what your ears are telling you, and believe in God and Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior and Messiah, not in any man, and that includes Donald Trump. And a lot of people will say, well, I'm not saying that Trump is my Messiah. Okay, but you are making up an unprecedented countless number of excuses for him. No matter what, you're unwilling to say that, yeah, Trump is bad because the things that he is doing is bad. Trump is actually greenlighting mass murder, genocide, and ethnic cleansing right now and sending 70 million pounds in bombs to the people who are doing it. And you're paying for all of that. If you're okay with that, then yeah, we're not the same.
Yeah. And
then but if you believe that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior and that God is not a God of fear, then stop fearing anything that's happening here. And, when you said the only thing that can save us is us, yeah, but that's going to start with a spiritual revival and national repentance, because that's what needs to happen here.
Right.
And people need to start talking solutions-based. You know, well, it's really easy for me to sit and talk about the Jewish question or the Jewish problem, and it's really, actually, it's not that easy, because it's horrifying what these people are up to. I mean, it's sick, and what they've been up to for as long as they have. And I'm a student of the game, so every day I'm researching and doing my show and talking to experts and people who have studied this, you know, real scholars, and then also just knowing what's readily available right in front of me, like the 80,000 pages of unredacted JFK files that I just went to, where it says right there, and I quote, "The Jews are bad, the Jews are responsible." It says it right in the file.
Right.
It's controversial for me to say the Jews killed our president, you know, and it's controversial for me to ask, okay, so now what? Okay, look.
Pam Bondi, now what? You know, just
Yeah.
all this bullshit. Just all this bullshit. Go ahead.
Even if we stop talking about Israel, even if we stop talking about Jews today, and we look no deeper into the control structure and the problem and the occupation of our government, if we look no further than, which is what we know right now, okay, well, what we know now is bad. Who's going to face accountability and when? And who's going to hold them accountable and how? And I think that that's the question that we need to be asking our fake government. And they're not going to give it to us, and we know that, because the hubris is just so outstanding, they just ignore you at this point. When is the last time you actually think that you made a difference in, you know, any kind of legislation that's passed? When do you think that you've ever mattered or even been considered when your so-called lawmakers are making decisions in Washington, D.C. about your state or your district? They don't. They don't care.
They don't.
They don't. They don't care. 100% of them, except for Thomas Massie, don't care. And that's why Thomas Massie is being demonized. And look who else is jumping on him. Trump. Well, then he's part of the system. He's giving the $100 million in shekels right back to the people who gave it to him, because he owes them. And that's just an honest look at our political system in this country. Now, if you want to start talking about solutions, there's all kinds of them. But, you know, the first thing that we have to do is make ourselves ungovernable by not allowing these people jurisdiction over us and actually openly mocking them. Making everybody realize how fake all of this is the first step. We have to do that. And I will just take a lot of credit for the online influence campaign that we have spearheaded here over the last year and a half on X primarily, but really throughout the entire social media sphere. The conversation, if you haven't noticed, is a whole lot different than it was a year and a half ago.
Right.
Things that people would have shuddered in fear and, you know, curled up in a ball in the fetal position if they just heard somebody on an aircraft say something about Jews. You know, and now it's like, not only is it mainstream and acceptable to talk about Jews and Israel and question all of the things that are happening in our government at this point, it's not only just mainstream now, it's actually cool. Like, people who have never even talked about politics or weighed in on Israel or been critical or questioned any of the biblical teachings of their Schofield indoctrinated fake pastor like Jack Hibbs, or, you know, this Hagee guy, or any of these fake evangelical pastors that are up here leading their flocks directly to the gates of hell by the lake of fire. Even if you have never questioned any of that before, you can look right now at everything that's happening and you can see clearly, look, we don't have a government that represents us. We have to openly mock them. We have to.
Yeah.
We have to call them on the carpet, because this online influence campaign that I'm talking about, that I believe that has been so successful, and it's obvious, to the point where people who've never weighed in on any of this are now saying, you know, things about Jews or saying things about Israel. People like this Isabella Maria DeLuca. You know, I mean, she's literally just a brainless thirst trapper on X. And she's never said anything that makes any sense at all whatsoever. And now she's like, I'm questioning the Jews. Well, okay, what do you have to say about that? You know, like, you've got nothing to say. And then she does it with like her tits out. It's just, it's also
right.
Like these right wing, you know, influencers, like these DC Dranos and all these.
Oh, these guys, these fake ass fucks, man. The guys that they got a binder, man, for the Epstein list. Ooh, they ain't taking their fucking photos with the binders, that fake shit, and we still don't have the Epstein list or
those people should be tried as well. You know, because I mean, they're part of the same corrupt propaganda machine that's feeding the masses full of deadly information. And I say that because it really is. I mean, this is not only dangerous, this is very deadly. It's a kinetic war at this point. They used the media, which is 100% funded by, you know, the Jewishly owned Rothschild Boulevard based BlackRock, Vanguard, You know, it's no secret that these are the people that control 100% of the media, including so-called conservative mainstream Fox News channel, you know, any of these. And then a lot of these so-called right-wing dissident alternative media podcast spaces have all been co-opted now as well. I mean, you can see Alex Jones is just like a glowing example of this. I mean,
yeah, man. You know, I was shocked, you know, when he started shifting, maybe they got him blackmailed, maybe they're, you know, help.
Well, I mean, if you think about it,
I
it
don't
makes
know what the
sense.
fuck.
I mean, he had $1 billion judgment against him, right? $1 billion.
Yeah,
All of a sudden, he's still on the air, you know, and he's sucking off Elon Musk and Donald Trump at any chance that he gets. So it's very obvious what happened. I mean, Elon goes in and says, "I'm going to bail you out. All you got to do is fluff me and fluff Trump all the time, 24/7." The day that the JFK files came out, Jerome, the day the JFK files came out, we're in here and in all of these rooms, and everybody that works at this network is pouring over 80,000 pages, because it was, if you remember, it was released in no certain chronological order.
Right. It was just,
you know, it didn't make any sense. It was just all, and it was meant to be that way so that people would
exactly.
Like,
yeah, because no people are going to go and read through 80,000, you know, pages of shit to try to find stuff, you know, because they don't have the time, they don't have a fucking, you know, manpower.
And they disabled the feature on the website that allowed you to search. You couldn't search for any keywords. So like trying to find the word Israel or Jew, they disabled all of that. You couldn't do that. So we literally had to like go through all of this. And on the day that this information hits, the guy who represents himself as the tip of the spear, what is he doing? He's out with a bullhorn in Austin, Texas, campaigning for Tesla.
I didn't catch that one. That's just funny.
That's how embarrassing this is. And I believe that it's just a humiliation ritual at this point. I mean, this has got to be like one of these, you know, Jewish, like satanic. I
mean, he has to wear the dress, you know, he has to wear the dress, has to kiss the man, you know, have to play a bitch in the movie.
That's upcoming. Like I'm sure he'll have his obligatory tour of Auschwitz as well, so that they can roll out the big propaganda screen and show them about how many Jews died there, which is completely fake, by the way. I mean, the numbers were admitted by the Chicago Tribune in 1991 or 2 when they printed this article that was headlined "Fixing the Numbers at Auschwitz," and the revelations there were like that it was like 1/8 of what was largely reported for, I don't know, decades, and it was the gospel. I mean, it was illegal to question those numbers in I don't know how many different countries. It's illegal to question them in South Dakota right now, or Ron DeSantis's free sunshine state of Florida with the anti-Semitic.
And this is what they're trying to pass here too in the United States. Man, you can't say anything bad about Israel, can't say anything bad, you know, about Jews. And it's not even the fact that you say anything about the Jewish people of a whole. You're talking about the fucking Israeli government, talking about, you know, all those people, the people from, you know, Germany that's calling, you know, themselves the chosen people of God and all this bullshit.
And that's where the, you know, the Hagee and the Hibbs, I mean, this has been not just an occupation of our government, not just an occupation, this is an occupation society-wide that includes the capture of the church. You know, you've got these guys that, you know, the introduction of the Schofield Bible was a really big deal. The whole God's chosen people, bless Israel, don't curse Israel thing. And then, you know, forcing people to believe that biblically speaking, Israel is synonymous to this nation state that was founded in 1948, that they were one and the same, that this Israel, the Rothschild Israel, that just
the bought and paid for Israel, that they paid Britain for.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think it's the Israel of the Bible, just anecdotally, I'll say, because, I mean, first of all, it's the homosexual capital of the world. And I think God blew up 2 whole cities over that sodomy shit, Sodom and Gomorrah. I'm pretty sure that he hates, you know, homosexuality. So, this is not the Israel of the Bible. And that's really dangerous. And this is really deadly information. Just going back to what I was saying about the media control, people will sell their souls for money. And people by nature, this is just human nature. And I don't even think that there's really anything wrong with this at its core. People are really into self-preservation. And I mean, you have to be, right? Instinctively, you're going to protect yourself and your family. So that I don't think is necessarily a bad human instinct quality to have, with self-preservation. But at what cost, right? You know, it's like the airplane, make sure to secure your mask before you try to help others. Well, yeah, because if you're dead, there's not much that you can do, you know, for the guy sitting next to you. So self-preservation is important. But I think that self-preservation cannot be really the words that we use when we're talking about some of these people who have really leveraged a platform. I mean, if you want to talk Alex Jones, you can. If you want to talk Donald Trump, Elon Musk, it doesn't matter. You know, these guys have leveraged a platform and knowingly misled a lot of people who really trust them. And in doing that, in misleading them, they're misleading them in dangerous ways that can actually be deadly, and in many cases have been. And so for me, that makes you a killer, because you know that you're doing it, and you're doing it anyways, and you're doing it for money and to preserve whatever platform you have, or to preserve your life. Maybe these people have been threatened, or maybe their families have been threatened. I know where your kids go to school. I know where your grandkids go to school, in the case of Donald Trump, perhaps. You know, I don't know. But what I do know is that these people are compromised. And that's very obvious to see, because things have completely changed, but people just don't want to admit that. And when you look at the source of all of this, and it all points back to Israel and Jews, that's why I continue to talk about that. It's not that I want to. I'm not like, I can't wait to go to the studio today, and I can't wait to wake up in the morning and look at what else is fucked up today and trace it back to Israel and Jews. I can't wait to do that. Like that, it's just, you can't get away from it, because no matter where you look, if you want to start discussing solutions and remedy, you can't be like one of these AI bot doctors that we saw through COVID-19, where everything was COVID, everything was nasal swab, everything was remdesivir, everything was death, everything was, get injected and vaccinated. Like, I mean, this isn't that. This is a deal where you don't go to the doctor to get ibuprofen so that you can mask the pain, of inflammation that you're dealing with for the rest of your life. Like, eventually you got to know, well, what's causing the inflammation? Where's it coming from? What's the root of the problem here? Am I going to have surgery? Like, what am I going to do? I can't live like this anymore. And I think that's where our country is right now. We can't live like this anymore. This is just not sustainable. And so rather than masking the problem with, a poisonous pill here or an anti-inflammatory there, like, we can't do that anymore. We can't be treating the symptoms. We have to really attack the virus. We have to attack the infection, and we have to neutralize it. We have to get rid of it. The only way to get rid of a virus, is to obliterate it completely. Otherwise, it just continues to grow. And right now, our country is infected with a virus. And so people need solutions, and they need remedy, and they need, something more than, antibiotics. They need the right prescription. They need a final solution, and they're looking for that. And I don't think that should be controversial to say.
No, it shouldn't. So what do you think the solution should be for the people that just asked that? So what's the solution, Stu?
Well, I mean, first of all, we have to get rid of and tear down this form of government by making ourselves ungovernable, by not adhering to any of this, by going and showing up en masse at these. When your congressperson comes back to your district, there's no reason why they should be able to just peacefully go in, and comfortably give their speeches without being shouted down and questioned.
They're not even fucking showing up anymore. They're not even showing up.
Well, right. Well, then we have to go. I mean, look. Right. We have to be continuously calling these people out on the carpet, and we have to be honest. What we're doing is working. I mean, we're making a massive difference, because people have to, before they're willing to act, they have to know that what we're saying is true. I tell people, don't believe me. I tell them that every day. Don't believe me. Go research it, find out for yourself. But what I'm telling you, I'm saying with conviction, because it's true, and because I'm really tired of people not knowing this. And so if you really want to do something, and if you really want to take bold action, then, why don't you go and stand up at a church service when this fake pastor is leading everybody to the gates of hell, and stand there and shout him down in his own church, like Jesus would do? Braid your whips, flip some tables, like, be loud, take action, like, stop being afraid to criticize Trump. Like, who gives a fuck about your MAGA flag, dude? Like, burn it. It doesn't matter. Who cares if Tom down the street, who wears his stupid MAGA hat every time he leaves the house, who cares if he likes you anymore because you don't like Trump? There are a lot of people like this out here. They cannot get away from this. This is the spirit of idolatry, and it's ruining our country. We need repentance immediately. We have to walk away from that religion. It's like a religious sacrament to bow to Israel, and to bow to these Jews, and to bow to Donald Trump and Elon Musk, because your television tells you to. Shut the fucking thing off and wake the fuck up. And then when you do, you have to start waking up your neighbors and be unafraid to say these things. Like at the coffee shop, I have conversations like this. I swear to God, with total strangers, I will be on an aircraft sitting next to a guy because I travel a lot, and we'll have the conversation. So what do you think's going on in the world, Stu? Nice to meet you. What do you think's going on? Well, these fucking Jews are a big problem. You know, like I'll open it like that and just get a gauge just to see where am I at here now. You know, and you know what I'm finding more and more, Jerome, is people are saying,
people say, yeah,
yes, they are.
They are. Yeah, I know. I get that same stuff too. I mean, and it's, and it's funny, you mentioned, about the cult, because I'm, Trump supporter, whatever the case is, election, but I don't agree with every fucking thing he's doing. I didn't agree with, him bowing down to Israel and, want to take Gaza and all this bullshit. I don't agree with that. I didn't agree with the jab, bringing so it's shit that a bunch of stuff that I don't agree with, right? And so, when people hear, they're like, what the fuck you mean, man? What do you mean, man? Dude, I'm through with you because you said, Trump shouldn't have fucking did this, whatever. It's really funny. And you mentioned about the Jews because now people like also they have a huge following. Candace Owens.
These people out of our country. You want to? I mean, the solution is we got to get these people out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have loyalty to a different country. They got to get out of here.
They have to go. Nobody.
Our government. They got to get out. These people should not only be out of government, they should be tried for treason. They literally are dual citizens. They're representing a different country. 100%. Thomas Massey,
he's the only one,
went on Tucker Carlson and said, everybody, at least from what he can see on the Republican side, he doesn't know how it works on the Democrat side. Well, I'm here to assure you what that means. It means it operates the same.
The same.
Everybody has an AIPAC handler. They have a little Jew man in the corner that tells them what to do and how to vote on every bill and every issue. When they're considering legislation and passing laws in your district,
they have to call their
they have to call their AIPAC guy. They've got to call their AIPAC handler. And 2 weeks later, Thomas Massey's previously very healthy wife was dead.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. Yep. So if you want to talk about how dangerous these people are, and until I hear otherwise, or until Thomas Massey says otherwise, they absolutely killed his wife. And if I had the opportunity to sit down with Thomas Massey, and I think that I will ask him, did these people kill your wife? But 100% of these people are doing the bidding of another nation state. If you go to AIPAC Tracker, don't believe me, go to AIPAC Tracker.
AIPAC Tracker is right there.
Go there and look at what these people take. Go look up your congressman. Go look up your representative. See how much money they're being paid by Israel. Probably more than they're being paid on their salary by the United States government. So who do you think they're going to do the bidding for? And even if not, that goes right into their campaign coffers. That's added income, and that'll be there forever. And that only goes up. There's a reason why these public servants leave office worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And it's not because of their $130,000 salary. Okay, because that doesn't compute, like the 6 million number that's so often contested. Yeah, the math isn't mathing today.
No.
These people are sold out to a different country. Why should they be allowed to do that without facing trials for treason and then facing extreme accountability? We have to get these people out of here. And so that means having honest, yes, uncomfortable, but honest conversations about real solutions. What are we going to do? Sit around and type on X for the rest of our lives? Is that what we're going to do? No. If we're going to take action, these people need to be removed. They need to be removed from our government, and we need to demand it. The government should respond to us because we are the bosses. Like, they are public servants. They literally work for us. And if they're not going to do the job, they got to get the fuck out. Absolutely. And I don't think that we should be scared of them. There's 350 million of us in this country.
I say that all the time. 535 of them, 350 million of us. I mean, and when you go, and for people that may not, believe what Stu's saying here, just go to your congressman or woman's office, and I guarantee you they have a United States flag and an Israel flag in their office.
In some cases, they don't have an American flag. Can you believe that?
Amazing.
You know Frankie.
Amazing. Yeah, Frankie Stocks, my boy Frankie. Yes, sir.
Frankie is a contributor here at the network, works for me here. Great writer. He works over at stewpeters.com. He does a lot of stuff in the field for me. Went very viral when he went to DC for me, when I, asked him to go there with a simple question, Congressman, who do you care about more, the American people or Israel? And that went viral because people learned the truth. He's back there right now. I'm not going to say for what, but he's back there right now. And he could not believe that there are congressional offices that are absent of the American flag, but yet don the Star of Remphan, the satanic symbol, which, by the way, I do know why Israel has a satanic symbol for its flag. It was done by design on purpose. It's not the Star of David. I challenge anybody to show me the Star of David in the Bible, by the way. That's not biblical. There's nothing biblical that supports a Star of David. Okay, that's a psyop and it's BS. So don't buy into that and question your pastor about it and know what you're talking about. Call your pastors down on the carpet. We have to take our church back. We have to take our communities back. Fuck this government. Okay, at the end of the day, getting rid of them, that'll work itself out. I'm not encouraging anybody go up there and physically grab some congressman by the hair and drag him out of their office. As much as some of us would like to do that, yeah, because I would love to do that, but that's illegal. Don't go do that. But you know what? Call these people down on the carpet out loud, publicly. Your pastors, yes, call them down on the carpet. Have these conversations with your neighbors, the people that immediately surround you, that you care about, that you know that you want to know the truth. Make sure that if you know this stuff, that you're telling them. And if you don't know this stuff and you're hearing me talk for the first time and you're saying, well, this guy's unhinged, but I was a little intrigued by this one thing, just go look into it. Honestly, just go look into it. But do me a favor. Please be honest with yourself. When you go and you find your findings, whatever your findings are, and I know what your findings are going to be because I've found them, allow yourself to be truthful. Be honest with yourself. And then say, okay, well, as much as I didn't want to hear that, as much as I didn't want to learn that, that's the truth. And then you know these things for a fact yourself, so that when you're speaking to somebody, you can speak from a point of conviction, because then they too will say, well, that matters to me, because you're saying it and it's impacting my life in this way. And understand the people that you're talking to, they probably all need to be approached a little bit differently. So if you're a guy that's already been onto this for a really long time and you know the truth about the USS Liberty and how Israel killed U.S. sailers, and I know that makes a big difference to you, Jerome.
Oh, yeah, I had a guy, and we did a show on it last week, 2 weeks ago.
That pissed you off? There's no contesting it. There's no argument, irrefutable evidence. Yeah. Israel attacked U.S. sailors and killed them, murdered them.
And killed them. Yeah. I knew about that. Years ago. And
they killed our president. They killed JFK. They took down our towers on 9/11.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're committing genocide. And they'll say they're committing genocide right now.
They sent nobody here to control our country via sexual blackmail with kids. So, once you start learning these things, and even if you don't believe 4 out of the 5 things that I just said, isn't one of them bad enough? Which one? Take your pick. Which one? Which one do you want to hold them accountable for? Murdering sailors, murdering Americans, knocking down our towers. How many hundreds of thousands of lives were lost, by the way, as a result of the fake forever war that we fought for the wrong reasons over 9/11 in Afghanistan, and all the reasons why we invaded Iraq.
Hey, I'm going to play this clip real quick. Hey, Stu, let me play this clip real quick, because this is exactly what we're talking about.
Soviet Union and its chief proxy, the PLO, international terrorism would collapse.
If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region. Obviously, we like to see a regime change, at least I would, in Iran, just as I would like to see in Iraq. The question now is a practical question. What is the best place to proceed? It's not a question of whether Iraq's regime should be taken out, but when should it be taken out?
Are there any other nations that you would recommend that the United States launch preemptive attacks upon at this point?
The answer is categorically yes. The 2 nations that are vying, competing with each other, who will be the first to achieve nuclear weapons, is Iraq and Iran. A 3rd nation, by the way, is Libya as well. Libya is trying very rapidly to build an atomic bomb capability.
We'll stand together to stop Iran's march of conquest, subjugation, and terror. I know that no matter on which side of the aisle you sit, you stand with Israel.
Yeah.
That's the guy.
Yeah, and he's also the guy that's been, openly in interviews. It's on tape where he says, I don't care about America or what Americans think. We control their media. We control their government. We can do anything to anyone and say anything that we want to. And these people will do it. They'll bow down to us and they'll pay for it. Okay. He's on tape saying those things.
I have that. I have to find it. I played that on a previous show. No, 100%, man. 100%. He definitely in the state of Israel, and I say state of Israel, not the chosen people of Israel, because they are different. The state of Israel, illegally state of Israel, because they bought and paid for it, and and I've been pushing out
I am
Palestinians
God's
ever since
chosen people,
1948.
not these people.
Absolutely.
I am God's chosen people. God chose me, and I chose Jesus Christ. He found me.
They don't even believe that Jesus Christ was the Son of God. So
no, of course not. No, they believe that he is currently in hell, and that he's boiling in a pot of semen and excrement, and they believe that his mother Mary was a whore. So, yeah, I mean, take that for what it is. Go research that if you don't believe me. I mean, like all these things are 100% true. So we need to start having honest conversations and continue having. I'm really actually very white-pilled right now. I'm not angry. I mean, I get angry talking about these things. There's no question. It pisses me off when people are raping kids and murdering them en masse. I mean, right. I'm sorry, but that pisses me off. I argue with Jesus about my anger. Yes, I understand I shouldn't use certain language, and it doesn't look good to yell sometimes. But I mean, damn, bro, like every day I'm in here looking at the most horrific state of the world, and I'm watching people just passively just like shrug it off like it's nothing. It's just another day in our world. Like, no, fuck that. It doesn't have to be. These people couldn't do these things without our money. They can't do these things without our permission. You know, absolutely. I mean, look into the Federal Reserve, the founding of the Federal Reserve in 1913. I mean, look into all of these things, the conditions of the Weimar Republic. Look into those conditions. You know, why is it that, you know, millions and millions of people would have supported the rise of the National Socialists if these Nazis were such bad guys? Like, why would they have done that? Go look into the conditions in the Weimar Republic. Pick up a book and read it. Try starting with the Holocaust Encyclopedia. This is the #1 thing that these people use to tell you that you're not allowed to question them or criticize them. Oh, yeah? Well, let's look into what really happened then, or what happened in the Nazi gas chambers. I mean, get this book, read this stuff. This is scientifically researched stuff with thousands of citations, factual citations. They've been lying to us so greatly, and people have been eating it up so greatly that there are pictures that directly contradict the official Orthodox narrative that have been around and available but scrubbed for, well, since 1930s. And, you know, the reason that they have how about one? We'll just do one. I know we're running out of time. The burn pits that you so often hear about during the Holocaust, the burn pits. Well, here's a little fancy note for you. What's one thing that's really required in war? Reconnaissance. What's very valuable when you're in war? Aerial reconnaissance. Why do you think we have spy planes? What do you do? The SR-71 Blackbird or the B-2 stealth bombers. Remember those when they first these were spy planes. Well, why would you need a spy plane? Well, to take pictures from the air, you dummy, so that you know what you're dealing with. Well, guess what? There was a lot of aerial pictures taken by the Germans and other forces during World War II. A lot of aerial reconnaissance is available. And guess where the burn pits were? Nowhere. So how about that?
You know,
somebody I saw this Holocaust in your face. Be educated about it.
Yeah. I saw this lady. I think it was on Joe Rogan's show or something, but it was Joe Rogan, and she was a Jewish woman that escaped, you know, from over there, and she went and she came on and said, well, you know, the picture, you know, that we see, you know, of all the people, you know, they were looked like they were starving and, you know, in these camps or whatever. She said all that shit was fake. She said there were no pictures of that. That was remade. They actually had to go back and they remade that. And how do you know? Because that was in because it supposedly had happened in the winter months, right? But in this film, there's no snow.
Yeah,
there's no snow in the remake.
And I mean, they openly admit that they reconstructed Auschwitz for demonstration purposes. Well, who reconstructed it? Well, the Soviets did. Does that matter to anybody? Like. And then when you look at people like Tucker Carlson acting surprised when Thomas met, that's all an act. He knows all of these things, okay? I mean, his dad was a highly, you know, connected CIA operative. So was Alex Jones's, by the way.
Yeah.
I believe Joe Rogan's as well. I mean, these guys all are connected. And look, here's the deal. As long as their hands are being forced and they're having to talk about this issue, I consider it a win. Whatever they want to talk about, they're over there doing their things. You could point to Alex Jones and say, well, he's done a lot of really good work. I agree with that. It's all tainted now as far as I'm concerned. I've lost every shred of respect that I ever had for the guy. And I think it's really sad to watch him with this humiliation ritual as he runs around bare-chested with a bullhorn campaigning for Tesla and sucking Elon off every chance he gets. I mean, I think it's disgusting and it's really a horrible look, but he's going to do him. If that's his lane, that's fine. I'll be over here in mine. And if you want to join me, hey, guess what? The truth is over here. We're going to lead a resurrection of this country. And we've got a lot of really very talented soldiers here. And they just keep coming. And they just keep coming and coming in. I'm very white-pilled. I'm very excited, actually.
Hey, man, tell everybody where they can follow you, man. We got some questions. Where can I follow Stu, man? I canceled my ex. Where else can I find him?
StuPeters.com. You can check it out. There it is, StuPeters.com. There's a support subscribe button right there.
Go watch the movie Occupied. If you guys haven't, go watch that. Go watch that documentary.
100%. Yes.
100% watch that shit.
It is free on the website. If you hope to give, we hope that you'll give us $9 a month. We really need it.
I gave you 9.
I am on X as well, though, at Real Stu Peters. So yeah, I mean,
minus the blue check.
Yeah, minus the blue check. What do you know? You disagree with it? I'm glad that I don't have the chip in my brain, man. It's like
definitely not getting the chip, man, because your ass be turned off. You'll be at your desk. You just
it started with, what do you think about Donald Trump? And I mean, we didn't even really get into that really all that much. But I think it was a good conversation, but we really got to have more of them. And that's what I do every single day at 6 p.m. Eastern is we have these conversations. And so, we just ask that you join us. Just join us. We're on Rumble. Just look at the Stu Peters Network on Rumble. You can watch stuff at, on X. You can, just engage with me. And when you subscribe to me, you become a supporter, you become a part of the Stu Crew. We have a 24-hour live chat that I'm in all the time. Like if I'm awake, I'm checking my live chat constantly. So that's one thing that you get is access to me that way. Early release of, the films like this. There's just a lot of things. I do a lot of off the record stuff. I've got an introductory clinic for novice noticers. So if you're new here, it's great because we go over things like the Noahide laws. If you haven't heard of them, look into the Noahide laws. We go over things like usury. And if you don't know what usury is, it greatly impacts you and your children. We educate on all of that. I do things weekly. So it's really great. Just be a part of the Stu Crew. That's how you can support us, support our mission, $9 a month. But please engage with me. Come and hang out while we have conversations like this every day at 6 p.m. Eastern. There's no shortage of things that we need to talk about and solutions that we need to find because we're a platform that likes remedy, moving the ball. That's what we want to do. We're not bloviating blowhards like Sean Hannity. You already know you're not going to get your next booster, so anything else that he has to say is just complete bullshit anyhow, right? Turn it off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on over to the good side. Here we are.
I stopped watching Hannity shit 7 years ago or some shit with his ass.
Yeah.
Well, hey, man. Thanks for coming. Hey, I gotta have you on for 2 hours. Dude.
Let me ask you: are you Stu Crew or not? Are you through and through Stu Crew? Are you loyal to this platform? Are you loyal? Are you
talking to me?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm loyal to your ass. What are you talking about, bro?
You got to be on the record saying you're Stu Crew.
Hey, bro, I'm Stu Crew. I've been Stu Crew ever since Red Voice Media, motherfucker. What are you talking about?
I know you have. And you know what? I mean, look, you may not agree with everything that I say, and that's fine. That just means that you're a couple of years behind me. You'll agree someday.
No, man, be honest, though. I mean, keeping it 100, I believe in 99.9% of the shit you say. The truth that you say. That's why I brought you on the show, man, to share with everybody else, man. To be honest. And I can't agree with a motherfucker 100%. That's why you get 99.9, dude. So
you know what? But don't be a simp. I wouldn't expect anybody to 100% is simping. Don't do that.
Yeah, that's simping, bro.
Go verify the stuff that I say. Like your audience, I know that but your audience, if they're like, in the car, I can't see the chat, but if they're like, man, this guy's unhinged. Look, we've only begun to scratch the surface here. You want to see how
dude, real talk, man. I mean, nobody is saying you're unhinged. I don't think. I have to go check my GETTR chat, but there's some people in there that say they definitely won't be joining the Stu Crew, but hey, it is what it is, man. You can't simp though.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. The truth isn't for everybody.
The truth. Hey, I was about to say the truth isn't for everybody, man. And I mean, and they just stay in the dark. I mean, they just stay in the dark, and they continue to be that slave, that mind slave to.
We'll just see. I mean, the people that are, when I'm not going to be Stu Crew will probably, they're very, diehard Trump supporters. And I understand that. That's fine.
Trump supporters, Israel supporters. And here's the big thing, man. Because that brainwash thing, you can't say anything about
Trump
Israel.
Supporter, Israel supporter, that's the same thing. Trump is Israel.
I mean, you can't say, people think you can't say that or you shouldn't or whatever case is. But here's the thing. Okay, you don't want to be part of the Stu Crew. Fine. Just go look up everything you said.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can go.
Just go look it up.
Yeah.
Just go look it up.
Saying but it doesn't matter. I don't care. Yeah. I just appreciate you having me.
No, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming. We've been trying to get this on, man. Got to have you back soon, though, man.
There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, like I say, let's do 2 hours next time. I'll bring you back for the whole show, man.
I'm in. I'm in 100%.
All right. Okay, we'll schedule a date. All right, brother. Thanks, dude. Holler at you. Peace, man. Well, there it is. I say the great Stu Peters, man. I've been knowing Stu for a long time, a long, long time. So, hey, but I mean, it is what it is, man. I mean, no one's asking anybody to believe anything that we say or Stu says or anything. You can go look it up yourself. You can hold on to your beliefs or whatever the case is, and just handle your business. I mean, because when you think about it, all you got to do is just go look at Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro. I mean, if you're a Christian, right? If you're a Christian, why would you follow anyone that don't believe in what you believe in? If someone believes that, if you believe that Jesus was the Son of God and that He's your Savior, then why would you follow any other people that don't believe that Jesus Christ was a savior? They believe that Jesus Christ was some dude that did something bad that got in trouble. I mean, those are Ben Shapiro's words. He's like the biggest Jewish dude I know with the biggest platform probably on the internet, at the Daily Wire. And that's why Candace Owens left, right? And so, I mean, that's what he says. I have the clip. If you want me to play the clip, I'll play the clip. But, that's what they believe in. So why would you support or believe in anything that don't hold your belief? So, it is what it is. So we're going to go out. I think this song is fitting. We're going to go out today on this. So it is what it is. You guys take care, man. I'm glad you guys came in.
First things first, I'ma say all the words inside my head. I'm fired up
and this is how we roll. So thank you. I'll see you guys next week. I'm taking the week off. I'm taking Easter off. I am taking Easter off next week, so there won't be a show. Maybe I'll run this show. I will rerun this show next week. So if anybody missed it, then check it out. Or if you just want to check it out, again, you guys just be in next Sunday on the show. I will run this. So you guys take care. Love you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and we're out. Peace. Have a great week. Be safe.
Into the masses, writing my poems for the few that look at me, took to me, shook at me, feeling me, singing from heartache, from the pain, taking my message from the veins, speaking my lesson from the brain, seeing the beauty through the. Hey, you make me a believer, believer. Hey, break me down, you make me a believer, believer. Hey, let the bullets fly, let them rain. My life, my love, my time, it came from. Hey, you make me a believer, believer. Third things third, send a prayer to the ones up above. All the hate that you've heard has turned your spirit to a dove. Oh, ooh, your spirit up above. Oh, ooh. I was choking in the crowd, building my rain up in the cloud, falling like ashes to the ground, hoping my feelings, they would drown, but they never did, ever lived, ebbing and flowing, inhibited, limited, till it broke up and it rained down like. Hey, you make me a believer, believer. Hey, break me down, you make me a believer, believer. Hey, let the bullets fly, let them rain. My life, my love, my God, it came from. Hey, you make me a believer, believer. Last things last, by the grace of the fire and the flames. You're the face of the future, the blood in my veins. Oh, ooh, the blood in my veins. Oh, ooh. But they never did, ever lived, ebbing and flowing, inhibited, limited, till it broke up when it rained down like.